A house in Toronto just recently sold for 167% over the asking price, and you might be wondering, how is it possible that a house can sell for that much more than what it was listed at during one of the worst economic conditions we've seen in years? And different strategies are involved when it comes to selling a house, so in this video I'm going to share with you what strategy was used to get this home sold for top dollar and why that strategy was ultimately chosen. Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the weekly Toronto real estate market update. We just got news that Toronto, Ottawa, and Peel Region will be rolling back to stage 2 restrictions now that COVID-19 cases are starting to climb back up, close to 1,000 cases per day. So now the question you might be asking yourself is, how is this going to impact the real estate market? That's something we've had on all of our minds for the past half year, and one of my goals has been to provide some insight on what's been happening during COVID to help guide your decisions. And actually, it's been a really cool experience growing this YouTube channel because I've had some viewers reach out to me about their personal real estate goals. And one of the questions that I often receive is whether or not now is the right time to sell. The short answer is no. Several parts of Toronto are now in a buyer's market, so as a seller, you want to avoid that. When you see articles that essentially say the market is down because inventory is up, then that's a good time to be a buyer in the market, and selling during that time means more competition and likely lowered market values. So ideally, you want to hold off selling your home if you can, but of course, everyone has their own unique situation, which now brings me to this home. How is it possible for this home to sell for 167% over the listed price of $729,000? And before taking a look, if you're here for the first time, my name is Fred. I release a new video every single week with the latest market updates and other tips to help you with your real estate goals. So if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. And now let's take a look at this house. It's a 3-bed, 3-bath home in the west end of Toronto that sold for just over $1.2 million in 3 days. How does a home sell for $487,000 more than what it's worth? Well, that's the first misleading piece of data. This home wasn't actually worth $729,000. And if you've been following my channel, you'll know that weekly average home prices have been nowhere near $729. 2 weeks ago, freehold homes in Toronto sold for an average price of just over $1.3 million, which is down 8% from the previous week. You'll notice that home prices are trending down, and I'll tell you exactly why that is in a few moments, and you'll also notice that home prices have been mostly higher than what they were last year, except during the early months of the pandemic when home prices fell by 27%. So even though home prices tanked during April, Toronto homeowners regained confidence as the market started to pick up rather quickly, and the same applies to condos. The average condo price came down 2% from the previous week, but is still higher than the overall average this year at $708,000. Condo prices are more or less back to where they were before the pandemic. And looking at these price trends, it's possible that the market prices will fall sometime before the end of the year, especially now that we're in the second wave of the coronavirus, which is speculated to be a lot worse than the first wave. But if prices are expected to come down, that still doesn't explain how this home sold for $1.2 million, especially with home sales going up. Home sales have been trending up since June, but came down 3% from the previous week with 444 homes that sold. Condo sales, on the other hand, have been floating around the same average for the past few months, with 409 that sold, down 11%, which is also around the same number of sales we saw this time last year. So if sales of freehold properties are still trending up and weekly average prices are trending down, does it make sense yet how a house in the Downsview area of Toronto sold for way above the asking price? It would make sense if the number of listings on the market were down, but that's just not the case either. Last week, another 838 homes were listed for sale on MLS. It's pretty clear that home inventory has skyrocketed at 40% higher than the peak of new listings we saw coming out before the pandemic. The number of freehold listings in Toronto remained unchanged despite the new listings that came out, with current inventory at just over 2,700 homes for sale. And we're seeing similarities with condos. Last week, another 1,300 condos were listed, making a total of just over 6,300 condos for sale right now. Condo inventory has gone up by 21% in just 5 weeks, but a lot of sellers are finding it difficult selling their condos at this time, which also explains why canceled listings are up. 644 43 condo listings were canceled, and in that number there's likely a high number of sellers who are relisting at lower prices. But the strategy the seller decided to go with for this home wasn't to list at market value, but rather list below market value to attract the most amount of buyers. And going with this strategy actually makes sense given that we're in a buyer's market. But one concern is that the home was probably priced too low and attracted some buyers who wouldn't have qualified for the purchase, given that it did end up selling for almost $500,000 more than what it was listed at. Sure, you attract the most amount of buyers by creating that attention, but not only are you wasting the time of those who wouldn't qualify, but you're also wasting some of your time since each offer is reviewed and followed up with. So there's definitely a sweet spot in terms of a listing price you want to nail down when you're deciding on the pricing strategy before listing a home for sale. And tell me what you think about this sort of pricing strategy in the comments section, and if you agree that it works well based on your experience or from what you've heard. And also give this video a thumbs up if you're gaining value. Okay, so now here's a recap from today's market update. Prices of freehold homes in Toronto haven't changed much in the last few months, but home sales have been going up, and the number of new listings continues to rise, and we're seeing more active listings on the market. With condos, average prices are balanced, although condo sales have been trending down. Condo inventory continues to rise, and this could be a reason why condo prices might come down. And the market stats, of course, are changing every single week, so to stay updated, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. New episodes are out every single week. Thanks again for watching, guys. I appreciate you watching to the very end, and I'll see you guys next week.